Okay, I want to talk about female enablement of psychopathic females, like mothers enabling violent, dangerous women, violent, dangerous family members, and society enables these women as well. So, so this panic about male criminals and like overreaction and anger at male criminals, it disappears when it comes to female criminals, right? No matter how dangerous these female criminals are. So, a case almost too gruesome to mention: Rita Camilleri. Okay, so I'll watch bits of this video and respond to it.
This case takes place in Sydney, Australia, on the 20th of July 2019. Jessica Camilleri was a 25-year-old woman who lived in
That's a jump scare right there. Gee, this is not a photoshopped image. This is a real image.
Sydney with her mother. Growing up, her parents had noticed that she was delayed in walking and talking, and later teachers noticed her delays in reading, writing, and mathematics. Over the years, she had been diagnosed by various doctors who all gave various answers to her issues.
So her mental health is going to be brought up a lot, and it's going to be used to basically excuse her behaviour. And it's brought up in the comment section when it's absolutely irrelevant. Her mental health problems are not relevant. Her autism or attention deficit disorder, that's all nonsense. It's a red herring. She's a psychopath, right? That's the main problem here.
She had been diagnosed with autism, OCD, depression, and ADHD.
Diagnosed with depression. I'm very sus about how they diagnose depression, right? Okay, you don't rip someone's head off if you're depressed. This is what this girl does.
Although some doctors believed she had schizophrenia.
See, they believe they're not even sure what she actually has. That's the amazing thing, right? It shows you how incompetent the mental health profession is.
Jessica was badly bullied at school. She struggled to make friends and she was frequently mocked and teased by her peers. And she would often respond to the bullying with violence. In year 9 in school, Jessica was suspended for biting a boy and pulling his girlfriend's hair. The following year, she attacked a schoolgirl and was expelled.
So she's attacking people all the time from a young age. So I sort of suspect she's got some sort of brain damage going on, but
it's reported that Jessica had a particular dislike towards her female peers. In her home life, she would often have conflict with her family members. Following a fight with her parents, she was forced to live with her grandmother, with hopes that this may help to solve the issues.
Dumping a problem on someone else.
However, shortly after moving in, she attacked her auntie, so was made to go back and live with her parents again.
So, when it comes to young boys, they quite often get jailed for doing this sort of thing from an early age, right? Even if they're prepubescent, they'll get jailed and put in prison. But she's just going around attacking people all the time.
Whilst living at home again, Jessica was constantly verbally aggressive to her parents. The stresses she brought upon her family resulted in her parents breaking up and her father leaving home.
So what I think is going on here, the mother's an enabler, the father wants to lay down the law and do something about it, put her in a mental home, get the police on her, make consequences for her actions, but the mother enabler is blocking it. So the father's had enough and he leaves. Because this girl is crazy aggressive.
Jessica's mother Rita did everything she could for Jessica, and
this is sentimentality. If you're sentimental, you can still be a psychopath. The mother's a bit of a psychopath as well. So she's enabling the daughter, and she doesn't give a fuck what chaos the daughter causes for the rest of society, right? Like, this girl should have been put in a mental home years ago, or she should have been held accountable for actions and arrested.
Supported her despite her husband leaving. Despite the problems Jessica would cause, Rita assured her daughter that she would not be institutionalized.
So my daughter, I don't care if you go around attacking people, you're causing chaos and you harm others, you won't be institutionalized. So she prioritizes the feelings of her daughter over the well-being of the rest of society, basically. It's enablement.
Starting in 2012, Jessica committed a series of assaults. On one occasion, she saw a woman holding her baby. Jessica walked over and pulled the woman's hair. 6 other such instances were
So if a man walked up to a woman and did that, it would be called a paedophile wanting to attack a woman and a child. They'll call him a paedophile, even if he didn't attack the child or just the woman, right? And he'll be jailed. He'll be put in prison. He'll be jailed because it's a woman. Like women are like main characters in Grand Theft Auto. If you play Grand Theft Auto, you commit crimes, you get caught by the police, and then they let you out again. So you go out and commit more crimes. This is like a Grand Theft Auto protagonist. She goes around doing whatever she wants, and she gets away with it.
reported to the police, where Jessica would approach random people and pull their hair. The reason
This is really crazy. It's just totally like serial killers. They've got a sadistic sexual motive, and they pick the prey carefully, right? This woman's just randomly doing it, just the shits and giggles.
were usually that the person was looking at her in a way that she didn't like. Jessica would also
Oh my god, that's a jump scare in and of itself.
develop a very strange and disturbing hobby. She enjoyed calling random numbers to harass and threaten people on the other end.
So all this feminist hysteria about men harassing women, it proves they actually don't give a shit about it, and it's a lie. Because she was harassing people for real, giving random death threats to random people, and nothing was done. She wasn't jailed over this. She got to do this with impunity. So it's oh no, we've got to protect women, we've got to protect people. No, you don't care about protecting people, do you? Don't you? Especially when it comes to so you want to demonize and get the man no matter what, but when women are actually doing it for real, you don't give a fuck, right? Okay.
The kind of threats she would make was a sign of what was to come. One person who was a victim of these calls was a woman named Natalie Naylor. In 2015, Natalie received 20 phone calls from Jessica, and in these calls, she would threaten to kill Natalie's husband. Jessica would say, "I will come over to your door with a knife in my hand and slit your throat myself. I will ram a knife right through your neck and cut off your whole head."
So this is harassment right here. This is harassment, right? This is really nasty harassment. That's going to make someone feel ill at ease, anxious, right? They won't be able to relax at home. It's horrible. It's fucking horrible. And she gets to do it with impunity.
She did this to numerous people. Another person was a man named Matthew. For over 12 months in 2018, Jessica would call Matthew's personal numbers.
Right? She got to do this for 12 fucking months. 12 fucking months. Jesus fucking Christ. Female supremacy in action. Women get to do what the fuck they want and fuck the consequences. Fuck the victims. That's what society actually thinks. This is fucking disgusting. This is fucking like in the UK, you could go to jail for looking at women, right? But women can actually threaten to kill you, and nothing's done about it. And I'm sure they'll have the same anti-staring laws in Australia as well, right? In Australia, they've got domestic violence police to protect mothers from their sons, right? Even though it's mothers who abuse their sons far more often statistically. It's the deranged country. This woman getting away with it is due to feminist policing. I can promise you that now.
And business numbers at least 100 times a day.
You know what? I want to say something like that. If any woman did this to me, or any man did this to me, right? I won't say what I'll do. I'll take the law into my own fucking hands. If the police wouldn't deal with it, right, I would have to take the law into my own fucking hands and deal with it myself. And I'll probably go to jail for a long fucking time. That's the fucking hypocrisy of it. Fucking hell.
In these calls, she would threaten to stab him and cut his head off. Rita was made aware of these very disturbing phone calls. However, despite her trying, she was unable to stop Jessica from placing the calls.
So she's an enabler. Oh, my poor little precious baby, my poor precious little darling. Fuck off. You should have put her in a mental home or try to get a charge from the police. You should have insisted. You were an enabler, unfortunately. The mother is the one that pays the price for this.
Despite Rita doing everything she could for her daughter, Jessica would be constantly rude and aggressive towards her. She would often scream and swear at her, even in public. In June of 2018, Jessica's aggression began to escalate further. Her psychiatrist
She should have been in jail a long time ago.
Noted that she had very low impulse control and would lash out and act without thinking of any consequences. She was diagnosed with intermittent explosive disorder and was prescribed antidepressants and Valium. Although, by December, Jessica declared that she no longer wanted to take any medication. And now,
she should have been in a prison cell. Period.
We arrive to July of 2019. At this point, Jessica and Rita lived alone together. Her older sister had moved out and married, and of course,
The older sister's like running for her life. I don't fucking blame her, man. Jesus Christ. Like, yep, I'm out of here.
her father had left home a number of years prior.
Don't blame him as well. It's obvious that like, men do not leave their families unless they're really pushed to. It's either the woman's booting them out, or the mother, the matriarch, the head of the household, the matriarch's the head of the household, drives him out somehow, gets rid of him. But in this case, I think they conflicted over what to do about her, and he thought, fuck this, she's just a crazy enabler.
And Jessica was seeing a therapist for her anger and depression. However, there was little improvement. On the 19th of July, Jessica made a number of phone calls to a random man. She made her usual threats of decapitation and told him that she hopes he gets cancer and dies.
Are you tired of dealing with shaving cream? Exhausted by replacing beard with band?
Rita learned of this and sought help from the police in an attempt to get Jessica to stop this behaviour. That
So the police should have arrested her a long time ago. The police should have arrested her.
same day, Rita took Jessica to the station and an officer gave Jessica a caution, instructing her
A caution, so repeated harassment, stalking of multiple people, death threats, repeated fucking death threats, repeated fucking death threats, right? Like, if it was a man doing this, like a man can lose his temper in an argument and say it once and he'll be put in prison, right? But a woman does it maliciously, calculatedly, over the phone, repeatedly to multiple people. A caution, okay.
her to never call people and make threats ever again. Rita and Jessica then left the station and made their way home together. The following day, on the 20th of July, a young relative of Rita and Jessica's came over to stay with them. This relative was only 4 years of age, so they are unnamed.
Okay. They send a fucking 4-year-old to stay with this girl. A fucking 4-year-old. This dangerous, explosive, abusive girl who's clearly a psychopath. They sent her. So fuck the family that sent the 4-year-old boy over, and fuck the mother for allowing this. This is why I actually got no sympathy for the mother. Zero. Right? So this is very common actually when it comes. Like, they enable a female, and they don't think about the consequences for anyone else, including young children put at risk. Fuck the mother for allowing this situation. How dare she? How dare she put an innocent 4-year-old boy at risk?
Because they were only 4 years old, Rita needed to provide more supervision, care, and attention to the child. But this angered Jessica. She was bitterly jealous of the attention the child was receiving. In the evening, Rita ordered a takeaway for Jessica and the young relative who was staying with them for the night. Soon
Oh my god, and they're letting this 4-year-old child stay for the fucking night. Like, what the fuck? What the fuck?
after, Jessica told her mother that she was experiencing a severe stomachache and needed a doctor. The doctor arrived at around 9:30. Rita let her inside so she could inspect Jessica's symptoms. However, Jessica was on the phone to a fast food restaurant, trying to order a second serving. The doctor would later say that Rita tried to get Jessica to hang up on the phone, but Jessica refused, and instead continued to speak on the phone. She began to ask the attendant on the line to tell her that he loved her. The doctor waited for some time.
Completely fucking crazy, and she's doing this on purpose. It's like an aggressive, deliberate time-wasting thing. Actually, a lot of women do this in dating as well. I've just noticed. So it's a social dominance behaviour.
But after around half an hour, it became clear that Jessica would not get off the phone. So the doctor
How the fuck is she on the phone to a fast food place for half an hour without hanging up on her? Like, Jesus Christ.
left. She was also sure that Jessica had faked these symptoms. After the doctor left, Rita made a call to her eldest daughter, who was named Christy. Rita told Christy that she was worried for Jessica and believed that now was the time to have her institutionalized. However, this is something that Jessica really didn't want. Rita walked over to grab her mobile phone and began to call the emergency services to have Jessica be taken to a psychiatric hospital. But before she could, Jessica approached her and grabbed the phone. The two engaged in a brief struggle before Rita then made her way to another room to grab a different phone. But Jessica had followed her into the room. Jessica knocked her mother to the ground, grabbed her by the hair, and dragged her into the kitchen. She then opened a drawer, pulled out a knife, and sat on top of her mother to restrain her. Jessica then proceeded to stab Rita in the face, head, and neck multiple times. The child relative who was staying over heard all of the commotion. He went to see what was happening, only to witness the horrific sight. This young 4-year-old boy bravely took action. He jumped on Jessica and tried to get her to stop attacking Rita, and took the lid of a toy box and struck her over the head. Of course, this brave young lad was far too young to do anything to stop Jessica from attacking Rita, but the fact that he tried to do something at that age is incredible. Jessica pushed the child away and slashed his face from his ear to his cheek. The child retreated, and due to the horrific scenes he had witnessed, he began to vomit a number of times.
Jesus Christ, no 4-year-old boy should ever see this. How fucking dare the family put that boy at risk like that? How fucking dare they? How fucking dare they? What a fucking disgrace. What a disgrace.
It's also likely that Rita was still alive when the young boy had tried to defend her. Jessica had used such force in stabbing her mother that she broke 4 knives. Each time one broke,
that is some rage right there.
She would grab another. In total, Jessica stabbed her mother in the face and head over 100 times, and had used a serrated knife to decapitate her. To fully sever Rita's head, Jessica began to twist and pull until it became fully detached. By the time she was done, Jessica was covered from head to toe in her mother's blood. She picked up her mother's head and walked to the next door neighbor's home, but she dropped her mother's head on the pavement on the way. Jessica knocked on the neighbor's door and asked them if they could call the emergency services for her. She then turned around and returned home and called the emergency services herself. Here is the call. Onto her shoulders. Jessica was taken to the station and was questioned further. She said that she had been attacked by her mother and did what she did in self-defense.
All serial killers and murderers always use a self-defense plea, even though it's like really implausible, right? So yeah.
However, Jessica had no physical injuries. She also only really seemed to care about what would happen to her now, and showed little remorse for what she had done. Crime scene investigators.
She's not capable of feeling remorse. Like this girl's really damaged. There's something really missing from this girl.
Began to examine the scene. They were able to determine from the crime scene that Jessica was lying. She had been the aggressor the entire time, not Rita. Rita had over 90 defensive injuries. Her hands had been cut to ribbons. In her final moments, she desperately tried to defend herself from Jessica, but tragically was unable to do so.
Oh well, it is a tragedy, but I don't really have any sympathy for her. She did it to herself. So, like, if she was the only one, if she was only putting herself at risk, I'll say she's stupid, but I'll still feel sorry for her, right? But I don't feel sorry for her because she's a bit of a psychopath herself. She doesn't care about the consequences to everyone else, right? She was threatening people, stalking and attacking people for years. But she valued her relationship with her daughter over everything else, right? Right? And she put a 4-year-old boy at risk as well. I'm sorry.
When piecing together what had happened, they discovered that Jessica had sliced off the tip of Rita's nose and had also used a knife to pluck out both of her eyes.
That is fucking disgusting. That is disgusting. That is Ted Bundy level of aggression. That's the sort of thing Ted Bundy would do when he killed women, right? That is some anger and rage.
It was clear, too, that Jessica had held one of the eyes in her hand and squeezed it. Jessica was charged with the murder of Rita. While Jessica was awaiting trial, she was kept in a facility. In this facility, she lashed out at a number of women. She would usually pull their hair, but on one occasion, she poured boiling hot water over an inmate.
So even prisoners are put at risk. Even prisoners don't deserve to be put at risk like this, for fuck's sake. She should have been in fucking solitary confinement. Jesus fucking Christ. They should have locked her away. Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ.
The trial began on the 30th of November 2020. The evidence of the brutal crime was read to the jury, describing the horrific things Jessica had done to her mother. Jessica's hobbies were also brought up, which included the disturbing phone calls. But it was also brought up that she was obsessed with horror movies, and two movies in particular, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Jeepers Creepers. She was known to watch these movies on repeat. I'm not claiming that movies caused these things to happen, I'm just mentioning what was brought up in court and by the media. A family friend also came forward and said that Jessica had voiced her concerns about being put into a hospital. Jessica told this family friend that she would rather kill someone than return to a psychiatric hospital.
This is what feminism is, actually. This is feminism. Feminists have reduced sentencing guidelines and increased arrest thresholds for women, right? But a male who did 1% of this would be in prison a long time ago.
Jessica's defense team brought up the various mental disorders she had that would have impaired her ability to control her anger and emotions. It was concluded that Jessica had an intellectual disability disorder, autism, and severe anger issues.
This is nothing to do with autism. Don't even fucking bring it up. They shouldn't even bring this up. This just puts more stigma on mentally ill people when they don't deserve it. This has nothing to do. She's a psychopath with rage, anger issues, right? And she's got damaged empathy. That is the main cause of it, right? It's nothing to do with her intelligence level, autism, or attention deficit disorder, or depression, or the common cold, or whatever. She's a psychopath with she's got anger issues. That's the real cause of it.
Along with narcissistic features and features of OCD, depression, anxiety, and ADHD. However, the prosecution brought forward evidence from a psychiatrist that showed that Jessica knew right from wrong. When the family of Rita read their victim impact statements to the court, it was reported that Jessica showed little interest in what they had to say. The jury were
Yeah, it's high level of psychopathy. That's why.
Convinced that Jessica's judgment was impaired by her conditions,
and
as a result of this, she was found guilty of manslaughter and not murder.
So she's given a manslaughter charge, right? All the traits that she has are typical serial killer traits, right? The only main difference is that there doesn't seem to be a sexual motive at play, right? So yeah, but she's basically all the traits of a serial killer. Do you think they'll look for any pretext to give a serial killer a reduced manslaughter charge, right? So I tell you how mental health in the legal system works for men. So you've got a mental health problem, they'll use that against you. It'll be deemed aggravating. Oh no, that means we can't treat you. You're more unstable. You're more of a danger. Give them a longer sentence. When it comes to women, oh, she suffers from this and that. Oh, the poor dear, she's a victim. She's suffering from this and that. And they have sympathy for her, sentimentality. Then they let her off. That's how it works.
Jessica was sentenced to 21 years and 7 months.
It should be complete life, and never let out.
After being convicted, Jessica spoke with a forensic psychiatrist, and she admitted to him that she attacked her mother and did not act in self-defense. She told the psychiatrist that she hacked her mother like a butcher, and described how she twisted her mother's head to fully remove it. Jessica also claimed that the
complete psychopath. Like most serial killers don't kill. There are serial killers that kill family members, that kill their parents, that kill their mother, but most of them don't, right? So, because a lot of serial killers lead a double life, and they actually treat their spouses and near relatives pretty well, or normally. Okay, this girl, she doesn't give a fuck. It doesn't feel a thing.
Murder was as brutal as it was because she had been inspired by the horror movies she had watched. Since being incarcerated, Jessica has expressed remorse for what she had done, although this does seem to be somewhat disingenuous, as in September of 2022, Jessica appealed her sentence. The result of this appeal is yet to be determined.
Let's look at the appeal. This is the results of the appeal. Woman who decapitated her own mum and dropped her head in the street after stabbing her 100 times in a gruesome and brutal attack has had her sentence reduced. So, if a son, there's there's boys who kill their parents, who claim their parents have abused them their entire life, right? And they kill them, and they're in jail for life. They're in jail for life, okay, right? Women, right? A woman can kill a man, slit his throat when he's sleeping, and get let off, because he could go, oh no, he's abusive, he's abusive. So she's allowed to kill him coldly, right, with intent. But children who have to be driven most of the time to kill their own parents, right? It's very rare that children kill their own parents for no reason. Like that girl, she did it. Jessica is because she's a complete fucking nut job, psychopath. But in general, for children to do that, they really do have to be really, really, really badly abused, in my opinion. But they get a life sentence when boys do it. But when women kill their own spouses and slit their throats when they're sleeping, oh, she's abused. They'll just use the abuse excuse that she'll get let off. So anyway, she gets a short sentence. A woman who killed her mother before carrying out and decapitated her head onto the streets outside her Sydney home will be released from prison years sooner after successfully appealing her sentence. Jessica was found not guilty of murder and was instead sentenced to a lesser charge of manslaughter. Any excuse to get the girl off. Any excuse. They don't give a fuck. And I promise you, this girl's going to kill again. She's going to kill again. Owing to substantial mental health issues, including ADHD and obsessive compulsive disorder. Nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with it. Don't bring it up. Don't put the stigma on the people who suffer this. Countless millions of people suffer this. They don't deserve the stigma of being linked to this woman. Nothing to do with it. Fuck you. An autopsy on 57-year-old Rita revealed at least 100 stab wounds, including wounds that passed through the right eye socket and into the brain. Like, most serial killers can't do this. Most rage serial killers probably stab 20 times and they get tired. Jesus Christ. After the 25-year-old attacked her mother with 7 different knives. 7 different knives. Jesus. Riley told police at the time of her arrest that she had acted in self-defense, the usual lies, and her mother had tried to kill her. Yeah, but she admitted to blah, blah, blah. She was sentenced to 21 years behind bars by a Sydney court in March 2000. Even that sentence was a disgrace. 21 years, 25 when she was convicted. She could get out when she's 46. Right? Okay. With a non-parole period of 16 years. Right? Okay. In Sydney Supreme Court on Monday, Justice Peter Hamill dismissed claims that Camilleri sentence was manifestly excessive and the sentencing judge had been incorrect in assessment of the gravity of the crime. Justice Hamill nevertheless ruled that Camilleri should be resentenced with support from Justice Christine Amerton and Richard Cannell. So this is the entire system saying, yeah, she could get a reduced sentence. This is not just the opinion. This is not a freak occurrence. This is systematic. This is feminism. This is feminist. This is feminism doing this. I promise you that now. Feminism is in the Australian justice system. Objectively, the facts were gruesome and brutal and involved a frenzied attack on an innocent victim in her own home, Justice Hamill said. Yeah. So, listen. So, when men do something to women, it's violence against women, gendered crimes, extra long sentences. Women need extra protection. All men need to be stigmatized. All men are collectively guilty, right? But when a woman's a victim of a woman, it's like meh, 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 meh. Yeah. So what? Meh. Okay. You know. So, Like the thing is, you don't get MRAs campaigning to have male serial killers let off and giving short sentences. You never see that, right? But you see feminists doing that for female killers all the fucking time, all the fucking time, all the fucking time. Yeah. On the other hand, the offence was spontaneous and a result of Camilleri losing control of herself because of a complex psychiatric illness. No, she had a long history of fucking stalking and phoning people and threatening them. Her behaviour of walking into the street with her mother's head and dropping it, as well as asking for emergency service personnel whether they could reattach it, demonstrated the extent which the applicant's conduct was divorced from the real world. No, she's just faking it. It's fucking obvious. It's fucking obvious. Killers pretend to be delusional all the fucking time to get them let off. I mean, now when a male serial killer goes, "Oh, I was hearing voices. God told me to do it." The legal system goes, "Nope, life sentence," or "Nope, death sentence." They don't buy that as an excuse. But when with any excuse, they look for any excuse. It's a post hoc rationalisation. They look for any excuse to let the woman off. Any. Based on the evidence of multiple psychiatrists and psychologists, Justice Hamill found Camilleri had a simple understanding of moral for due to her intellectual disability and autism spectrum disorder. It's nothing to do with autism. Stop linking her to this. Stop stigmatizing people with autism. They do not deserve to be linked to this. Jesus fucking Christ. He ordered that she be resentenced to a prison term of 16 years with a non-parole period of 12 years. So she can actually get out while she's still of breeding age. She could theoretically get out and have children, right? And there'll be some tradcon male. There'll be some tradcon male willing to lap this woman up and breed her. I promise you that now, right? I promise you that now. The court was told the frenzied attack began after Camilleri had become displeased with a young relative being at home where she lived with her mother, for whom she was the sole carer on July the 20th, 2021. So the male is leaving out the age on purpose. You're not allowed to name him, but they're leaving out the name on purpose, which is made to make the female killer look less worse. If you look at the article, they don't have the really creepy images on, right? It's the most normal looking image possible. Right, so they want to humanize her and make if it was a male killer, they'll make him look as freaky as possible. They'll find the worst possible pictures imaginable to make him look as bad as possible. That's what they'll do. You see how the media treats male and female killers completely differently. A neighbour saw Camilleri yelling and throwing her arms about and swearing and screaming at her mother for always embarrassing her. The pair continued to clash after the home doctor told Camilleri that she was suffering stomach problems. All right. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, just typical stuff. A relative attempted to stop the attack. That's the boy. They mentioned it was a 4-year-old boy. He jumped on Camilleri and struck her out at her with a cardboard lid of a toy box. They're not mentioning the age. When the applicant went to push the relative off her, she slashed him in the cheek. Okay, fucking hell. So, yeah. Violence against women, eh? Gendered laws, violence against women. But violence against boys? Nah, they don't give a shit. They don't give a shit. Yeah. No. Okay, so that's it. Yeah. So, yeah, this is female supremacy in action, right? And look, okay. I think the mother brought this on herself, okay? And I don't really have much sympathy for her, to be honest. She's an enabler. She put others at risk. She destroyed her own marriage, right? So this girl, she was attacking people for years, stalking them, harassing them, attacking them, insulting them for years. If she had any regard for other people, regard for others, she would have done something years ago. She would have done something years ago, okay? But she didn't care. She prioritised her relationship with her daughter. She was an enabler, right? And this is actually very common, right? There's plenty of relatives in big families, and the mother enables the most toxic relative, and she causes chaos, discomfort for everyone else, and the mother doesn't care. The mother doesn't care. This is very common. But even so, the mother deserves justice. She deserves justice. And anyone who kills like that should never be let out. Never. Never. Because it's clear she has no self-control. It's clear that she enjoys killing. She's fantasized about killing. She likes stalking and making people feel uncomfortable. That's sadism. That's sadism. That's the thing. There's a difference between someone like there's some murders I don't think you should go to jail for life for. Like if it wasn't planned, it wasn't planned, and the person just loses their temper, and it's like manslaughter. They pick a weapon up and hit them around the head, right? And then they feel remorse right away. They phone the police and they turn themselves in, right? Then I don't think you should get life in most cases. But if it is sadism and you chop the person's head off and you've got a history of stalking and harassing people out of sadism, it means you can't be rehabilitated and you're a danger to the community. Okay? So this girl's going to victimize someone again. She's going to victimize someone again. She's not she's been attacking people in prison. Like, oh my god, even prisoners deserve protection from a woman like this, and they don't fucking get it. They don't get it. Yeah. So, tragic case. Tragic that the boy had to see this. It's tragic for the family in a lot of ways, but they still enabled her. Like, who the fuck? All right. Maybe the mother didn't. Maybe they didn't know how dangerous the fact that the boy's mother and father, they didn't know how dangerous this girl was. Right? They didn't have any. Maybe the mother didn't tell them. Right? So they might be off the hook on that in that regard. Maybe, but I think they did know, but maybe. But the mother, how the fuck could the mother put the boy at risk like this? How? Jesus Christ. Oh yeah, men are a danger to children. Yeah, I think it's mothers, isn't it? Who commits the most child abuse, the child murder, and when men do abuse children, it's most of the time it's because the mothers are enabling it as well. Okay, yeah. Well, I've said all I had to say. This is female supremacy in action. This is what a legal system is, and this goes in the UK, USA, Canada, right? All through the Anglo-Saxon countries, New Zealand. This is so common. This is so common. Yeah. All right. Over and out.